What is going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from Marvel, DC, and even IDW as well. Today, we are going to continue our coverage over the Brian Michael Bendis Daredevil run. In the last video, we saw Daredevil become the Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. Well, claim the role actually, but now in this video, we get to learn what Daredevil has been up to since he has become the Kingpin of the city. Honestly, a lot has happened, but there is one big thing that happened since he became the Kingpin, and we learn about it in this book right here. And so if you like today's comic book video, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe to the channel for more content to come in the near future. But I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. So we pick up with Ben Urich, and we have not seen him in a while, except we see him going to a diner and meeting up with someone. And we don't get the chance to see who it is, but he tells us that it has been a year since Daredevil had claimed the Kingpin role of the city. In the year from our last video till now, Daredevil has been going around making sure the city runs in his image, making sure villains are not trying to do anything. He just goes around Hell's Kitchen beating down on bad people. Now this leads into us finding out that Matt Murdock and Foggy Nelson won that settlement. Remember, in our first few videos, Daredevil's identity was told to the world that he was Matt Murdock, and his idea was to claim that the Daily Globe published a false story about him, and so he sued them for $100 million, I think. Except we find out that him and his girlfriend Millia Donovan gave all the money away to the city to help make Hell's Kitchen better, and that has always been his goal for years. But then you have Ben Urich tell us stories how the city wanted him to run for mayor. In 1 year, a lot of things happened to Matt, and every single thing that happened to him is something amazing. And Daredevil comics usually show Daredevil always struggling to have anything great in his life, and so seeing this for him is great. But then we learn that not everyone is happy that Daredevil claimed himself as the Kingpin, and we jump forward to Matt Murdock meeting up with some other heroes like Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Reed Richards, and we learn that they hated the idea of Matt Murdock claiming himself as Kingpin because he is putting a target on his head and anyone who is close to him, also making it hard for the other heroes as well, because every other villain or bad person in Hell's Kitchen have left there and went to other parts of New York, meaning more work for other heroes. But you have Matt tell them to do what he did. They will see how great it is. Just go there to your part of town and claim yourself as the Kingpin of that city. But we jump forward to the day before Ben Urich arrived at the diner to meet up with that mysterious person, where we see Matt and Millia out on a date. But then you have Matt send Millia away and tell her to call the one person he told her to call if something bad happens to him, because we find out that a group of gang members appear out of nowhere to kill Matt Murdock. And this is not a small group. This is a huge sized group ready to kill him. Now, the second chapter of this book focuses on Matt Murdock fighting against these thugs, and Ben Urich is telling us how epic the battle was, because this is the Sentinel gang who we saw in our last video who Kingpin stopped from taking over the city in the last video. And with Wilson Fisk gone, this gang was looking at trying to take over the city. But here comes Matt Murdock claiming the title, and now these guys want him gone. Plus, they know that Daredevil is Matt Murdock, thanks to the fact that his identity was told all over the world thanks to the Daily Globe. And this fight was so epic that it was impossible not to hear what was happening in the middle of the town. Now you have the FBI appear, and they have been watching over Matt Murdock ever since he claimed himself as the Kingpin of the city. But with the mixture of both the thugs and the FBI, he was able to sneak away before being caught by one of the two groups. This is where the big shocker comes in, because we finally get to the present day, which again is Ben Urich and this mysterious person he has been talking to this whole time. We learn that the person he has been talking to is Millia Donovan, and she was the person Matt Murdock told to find the one person if anything bad happens to him. But we learn that the fight was last night, but Matt Murdock has been missing ever since that fight last night. And so now Millia is asking Ben to find him. But the big shocker of this chapter is that in the 1 year Matt Murdock has been the Kingpin, him and Millia got married secretly. Now getting over to Agent Driver, who we have been seeing a lot of in our last few videos, appear once again, where you have him talking to one of the Sano members, well, the one in charge of the group that attacked Matt Murdock, Sano Ori, where basically have Agent Driver telling him that he's on the most wanted list, how he is going to be charged with drug abuse, concealed weapons, and a ton of other charges. Now Sano Ori plays like he knows the FBI cannot hold him, and so he's acting more of like a jerk right now towards Agent Driver, and giving that vibe off that he'll be able to walk out very soon. Now we pick up with Ben Urich, where we see him going to the one person Matt Murdock trusted besides him, which of course is Foggy Nelson, the best friend of Matt Murdock. Now we learn that with Matt Murdock being the Kingpin, life for Foggy Nelson has been going great for him. At the same time, he has faced a lot of challenges. But Foggy points out that he has been getting a lot of book deals, except he's locked away in some bunker for his protection from Matt's enemies. And you have been asked Foggy if he has seen Matt, where of course Foggy says no. But you have Foggy say something that sticks to Ben, which is, ever since Karen Page died, things have been going crazy for Matt Murdock and the people close to him. But you have Ben go to the one place that Matt would go to if he ever got badly injured and need medical help, but doesn't want to go to the hospital. Of course that means him going to the night nurse. The night nurse is someone heroes go to when they need to be patched up but can't go to an actual hospital. Where of course when Ben goes inside, that is when he finds Matt on the table trying to heal from his wounds from the fight from earlier. But the story once again switches over to Agent Driver and his new partner Angela Del Toro. If you know that name, then you know that later on she becomes the new White Tiger after Hector Alea. And right now we see her and Driver watching as Sano Ori is being escorted out of the police building, because somehow he was able to get all the charges dropped. This is where things go bad, because Driver and Angela were watching from their car down the street. Out of nowhere, you have a random group of Sano members attack Driver in Angela's car. Angel was able to get out of the car in time, but Driver was stuck in the car. At the end of the gunfight, the car blew up and Agent Driver was still trapped inside, meaning that he is now dead. This leads to Matt and Ben finally having a talk. Remember that Matt stopped talking to Ben Urich back in our second video, right when Matt decided he was going to sue the Daily Globe for putting his identity out there. But you have Ben Urich bring up the fact that Matt has been going crazy and making a ton of bad decisions because of the death of Karen Page. Karen Page was of course Matt's past lover, and when she died, it hit Matt hard. It seems like Matt never truly got over it. And so every decision he has made recently is a result of her death. And Ben calls this a nervous breakdown. Now Matt passes out, but you have Foggy Nelson walk in and begins to talk to Ben about what was just said. And Foggy tells Ben that he did not see this as a nervous breakdown until now. And with that being said, Foggy realized that Ben is right. Karen Page's death caused a nervous breakdown for Matt Murdock. But then the story fast forward 9 days later, and we pick up with Matt Murdock back in his apartment, where everything seems to be normal again for him, and he wakes up to Millia, who is currently his wife right now. and so things seem to be better for him now. But of course, this is a Daredevil book, and so we know that things about to get rough for him once again. Later that night, Daredevil goes to visit Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. At this point, Jessica Jones is now pregnant in the Marvel Universe, meaning that Daredevil books should be caught up in the Marvel timeline. But we see Daredevil coming here to make amends with Luke Cage since they had a fallout a while back, where of course Luke Cage and Daredevil do make up. But then you have Daredevil ask Luke Cage for one favor, and this about taking down someone who has done damage in the city. This is where we pick up with Santa Ori, but he's at some bar, and I'm guessing that he owns, where we see him thinking that he has won where it comes to him being able to get the charges the FBI had on him dropped. But while he is chilling at this bar, that is when there's a huge explosion in the building, and we see that Daredevil and Luke Cage had recruited other heroes to help them take down the Sano gang. And so now you have Daredevil, Luke Cage, Spider-Man, and Iron Fist. And Daredevil got word what Sano Ori did to Agent Driver earlier. And so he is here to make Sano Ori pay for killing Agent Driver. Now the final chapter of this book is used as a way to give us the battle between the heroes and the Sano gang, where really it is the heroes taking the Sano gang down with no problem at all. Truthfully, it is funny to see these guys try running up on the heroes like they have a chance of winning this fight, and each hero does something to embarrass one of the gang members. And one thing to point out is that the MGH, mutant growth hormone, is being used by the Sano gang, showing us that the drug is still being run throughout the streets of Hell's Kitchen. Now you have Daredevil go and chase down Sano Ori because he is trying to escape, but also the fact that he killed Daredevil's newest friend, Agent Driver, where the fight does go on for a while, but this is Daredevil's brightest moment in the book, meaning that of course he wins the fight against Sano Ori. Now, before the fight ends, we see Sano pop some MGH pills as well, thinking that it will give him the edge in the fight against Daredevil, where this is not the first time Daredevil had to fight someone who decided to use the MGH drug while fighting him. And so the story seems to end there, but we still have one more part to cover. And we pick up with Matt getting back home, where he is greeted by Milia like usual, except this time you have Milia upset, where she tells Matt that Foggy told her about Karen Page, how Ben and Foggy think that the death of Karen Page has truly affected the way Matt thinks and proceeds with his life. And Matt denies it at first, but you have Milia continue to push the idea in front of Matt, to have him realize that it could be true, where Matt finally agrees that Karen Page's death has played a big part in his nervous breakdown, where Milia asks Matt that did he only marry her because of his nervous breakdown, and Matt says that it could be it, meaning that he may never had truly loved her, and so she leaves crying, saying that this is not something she wanted to hear and be part of. And this is where we are going to end today's video. And so guys, please leave me a like down below and also subscribe to my channel for more content to come in the near future. Also, any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'm out of here, and I will see you on the next comic book video. Later guys.